Hi guys, welcome on this Sunday morning to the Maruti Suzuki Brand Center in Vasant Kunj in New Delhi. I have with me Nexa's brand new premium MPV, the XL6. I'm also armed with a brochure and a smartphone. So what we're going to do is take a quick walk around both on the outside as well as on the inside, show you the XL6, and then I expect you folks to ask me questions so I can give you details about Maruti Suzuki's brand new premium MPV, the XL6. Now, what strikes me first about the XL6 is the fact that this is a premium MPV with very evident SUV-esque styling cues. It's got a really bold and aggressive stance. It's got this big, wide front grille. It's got all LED lights, headlights, daytime running lights, and fog lights. And I really like how this thick band in the middle of the grille connects to the daytime running lights at both ends. It gives it a really imposing stance. Equally, if you go around the side, you'll see that the SUV styling cues continue in profile as well. You've got a lot of body cladding, you've got this silver strip that's running below the doors, you've got roof rails on top, and it makes it very sort of purposeful. On the doors and in profile, you've got these two very sharp, strong character lines, and it continues that imposing road presence even around the side. One of the styling touches that I really like is this rear three-quarter window. I love how it blends into the tailgate. Speaking of the tailgate, here as well, you've got body cladding, you've got what looks like a skid plate at the bottom, and it just keeps that same sort of SUV type of styling even around back. If you open the tailgate, you've got a third row of seats, which even with the third row up, you've got plenty of boot space. You've got these compartments below the floor where you can store smaller items as well. Dropping the third row seats is very easy. It's just a one-touch operation, and it gives you a big, massive boot. Putting the seats back is also very easy. Pull, and voila, seats back in place. So let's get in the cabin and see what it looks like from the inside. So the other big differentiating factor of the XL6 is this all black interior, and it looks really premium. Personally, I love all black interiors. It's got this very sort of horizontal theme in the cabin. It's got these air vents which are connected with these horizontal slats. It's got this stone-like dark finish. It's got the silver accents, and I really like these black leather seats because they fit you really well inside the cabin. It's got a very nice three-spoke sporty steering wheel, flat bottom wheel with controls on the steering. I'm sitting here facing two really clear analog gauges, one for the tach and one for the speedometer, and in the middle is a multi-information display which gives you all kinds of information. So this car comes with 1.5 liter K15 petrol smart hybrid engine. So it's got Maruti's smart hybrid technology, and the display in between the two gauges tells you what's happening with the smart hybrid system as you drive along. So the battery for the smart hybrid system sits under the front seat. It's essentially got a integrated starter generator which lives between the crankshaft of the engine and the transmission, and it serves two purposes. One, it's great for efficiency because it provides a little bit of an electric boost from the electric motor, and the second thing is even during acceleration it gives you that little bit of a boost as you're driving along. This particular variant is the 4-speed automatic. There are two transmission options. There's a 5-speed manual and there's the 4-speed auto, and I have to say both transmission options work really well. Personally, I prefer the manual because it's more engaging. The clutch is really light. The throws of the shifter are very precise. They're very light, and it makes for a great driving experience. The automatic as well works really well, and the shifts are completely seamless, and on the whole this car drives really well. What we're going to do next is get into the back because the real party trick of the XL6 is in the second row. So before we do the second row, I'm going to jump into the third row to show you how much space there is back there. And accessing the third row is really easy because these doors are really big. All you do is fold and slide. And again, one touch operation, and getting in is actually pretty comfortable. The third row reclines as well, so I can set that back this way, and even if I move this seat back, you can see that there is plenty of room. Even if I move it back to a position where somebody might be sitting, I can actually sit here and cross my legs. So even for an adult of my size, there's actually a really good amount of room even in the third row. So getting out is easy as well. One touch operation, you jump out, put this seat back in place, and if you own an XL6, this is where you want to be. This is the brand new captain seat, so it's a 6-seater, and it is really comfortable. Again, the all black theme looks really premium, it looks really classy. There's a lot of space, and the visibility from back here is really good as well. I've got the AC controls up here, I've got cup holders in the doors, and I've got a armrest on this side. So sitting here like this, it's really comfortable, and as I said, you can recline the seat fore and aft, and I can recline the backrest forward and backwards as well, depending on how comfortable I want to be and if there's someone sitting behind me or not. I'm going to jump back into the front seat, and I'm going to wait for your questions so we can get into some of the details about the XL6. Okay, so Taran Sen on Instagram wants to know about the infotainment features. So this is the new Smart Play Studio, which is on this car, and it comes with a smartphone app as well, and the touchscreen looks actually really well integrated. You've got a bunch of features. This one tells me average mileage. You can connect your phone. You've got different media options, and on the whole it's really responsive, and it works really well. Rajesh Reddy on Facebook wants to know what the price of the vehicle is. So my maths is not very good, so I've written it down. It is between 9.79 and 11.4 lakhs, 11.46 lakhs. So it's actually a lot of car for the money, and it provides really good value for money. Nayank K on Instagram wants to know what's inspiring in the XL6. So I think what works really well for the XL6 is two things. One is it gives you the functionality and practicality of a MPV, and it gives you that sort of premium sense and that aggressive stance of an SUV. So it's a really good mix of the practicality of an MPV with the stance and that premium appeal that you get from an SUV. Gangwani on Facebook says, will it come with CNG? That's a good question. I don't know, so we'll have to get back to you on that. Tayar Waza says, what are the color on Facebook, wants to know what the color options are. So there are a bunch of colors. The color that this car is in the Nexa blue, so it's Nexa's signature color, and I think it looks really good. There's also a color known as Brave Khaki. So one of the great things about car manufacturers these days is that they're making brave steps as far as the color palette is concerned. So Brave Khaki would be an interesting color as well. There's Auburn Red, there's Magma Gray, there's Premium Silver, and there's Arctic White. Do you love the car? Some Mr. Psychic Lover on Instagram wants to know. Well, I haven't spent enough time in the car to tell you whether I love it or not, but what I can tell you is that first impressions are really good. The cabin feels really premium, it looks good, it looks imposing, it's got a very aggressive stance, and what I really like about the new generation of machines from the Maruti Suzuki stable is the hard tech platform that this car is based on. So it's their new generation of platforms. It's a really stiff structure. From a safety standpoint, it works really well because it's got 39% high tensile steel. It's got a very stiff structure, and the stiff structure does two things. It means that the car can it handles really well, and also the ride quality is really good. So because the structure is stiff, the engineers can tune the ride in such a way that it's very comfortable, but when you're seated, especially at the back, but also when you're in the driver's seat and you're driving it, it feels really, really good from the driver's seat. So I really like the new platform from Maruti Suzuki that this car is based on, the hard-tech platform, and it works well both from a safety standpoint as well as from a dynamic driving standpoint. Abha Gosain on Instagram wants to know what the engine variants are. So there's a single engine variant. It's the 1.5 liter petrol smart hybrid system, and it produces 77 kilowatts of power at 6,000 RPM and 138 Nm of torque at 4,400 RPM. And it's a really smooth engine. I mean, Maruti Suzuki is known for their petrol engines. It's BS6 compliant already, so this is the 7th model from the Maruti Suzuki stable and the 2nd model from Nexa, which is already BS6 compliant well before the regulations kick in at the end of March in 2020. So it's a very modern drivetrain. It drives really well, and the beauty of the smart hybrid system is that it's really efficient. So it not only is good from behind the wheel, but it's also very efficient as well. So Revant Madasu on Facebook, and I apologize if I'm butchering some of these names, on Facebook wants to know what is the average of the car and is it automatic. So as I said earlier, there are 2 transmission options in both the variants. There are 2 variants, one is Alpha and one is Zeta, and in both variants there is automatic and a manual. So full props to Nexa for providing 2 transmission options on both the variants. And as far as the mileage is concerned, the claimed mileage is 19.01 for the manual transmission and 17.99 for the automatic transmission. And what I can tell you from personal experience of the 1.5 liter smart hybrid system is that the efficiency levels are really, really good. So because there's a little bit of a boost that the smart hybrid system provides you, so the lithium ion battery pack provides to the electric motor through the integrated starter generator, and it gives you that little bit boost when you're accelerating. It actually works to give you not only added acceleration but also efficiency, because it takes some of the strain off of the engine when you're accelerating. The way it regenerates itself is when you're decelerating or when you're coasting, it converts that heat and kinetic energy into electrical energy, charges the battery, and so it works really well. When you're driving the car, you don't feel the systems kicking in and out at all. It's very well integrated and very seamless. How will it be different from other cars in this segment? Gaurav S1908 on Instagram wants to know. Well, I think the key here is what Nexa has tried to do with this model is to up the premium quotient, and with the all black interiors, with the quality levels on this car, with the features, they've been able to do that really, really well. With the fact that it looks really good and quite bold and quite imposing, I think that is really what separates this car from the other cars in this segment. Can we call it an MUV? Well, more than a utility vehicle, it's a multi-purpose vehicle, and it's a premium one at that. So it's a premium MPV. That's how Maruti is positioning it, or that's how Nexa is positioning it, and that's really what it is. It's a multi-purpose vehicle. It's a premium MPV, and it has the styling cues of an SUV, as I said. Cars Across the World on Instagram wants to know, how is the dashboard quality? Well, as I said, on the whole, the interior quality is really good. All the components work really well, and I really like the styling of the cabin and of the dashboard. It's got, as I said earlier, it's got this sort of horizontal theme, and it gives you a really good sense of space and of quality. And this new treatment that they've got on the center console and on the dashboard, this stone finish, it looks really premium, and it works very well. So the quality levels and the styling is really good from inside the cabin, and that's another differentiating factor of the XL6. Let's step out of the car once again, and let's look at some of the styling cues in more detail from the outside. So coming back to the front of the car, as I said, these are all LEDs, headlights, daytime running lights, fog lamps. It's really nice how the daytime running lamp connects with this big, bold sort of chrome strip that sits in the middle of the front grille. So it's a black, dark, matte finish on the front grille, and it's nicely contrasted with the chrome strip, and it gives it a really good hunkered down sort of aggressive look. Come on folks, let's get some more questions going. Price range we've talked about, it's 9.79 to 11.46 lakhs. Let's see here. Color options, as I said, this one looks really good in the Nexa blue, so it contrasts very well between the blue and the plastic cladding and the black on this car. It really sets off the color very nicely. So I'm keen to have a look at the Brave Khaki. I have a button here to turn the traction control off, and of course you've got the ubiquitous headlight leveling system out here as well. Guru GD Dutt on Instagram wants to know if it's available in red. So there's an auburn red, so it's a sort of deeper red. It's not a bright red, but it's an auburn red. And again, I mean, in keeping with the fact that they're positioning this car as a premium MPV, all the colors are sort of premium from that extent. So the Nexa blue, which is what we have here, looks really, really good. The khaki, of course, is a new color which will be interesting. There's the auburn red, the magma gray, the premium silver, and the arctic white. And I think what the brand has done with the Nexa experience is taken the customer experience also to a different level. I had a personal experience very recently where we were buying another Nexa product for a family member, and the way the people at the showroom interacted with us and came and showed us the car and the features, it was very, very professional, and it was a really good experience. We were standing in summer in Delhi at 45 degrees heat, and these guys were in their suits and their ties, and very professional throughout the experience. So I think what Nexa has done for the brand is great, because they're already up to over 1 million in sales in just a couple of years, and it's really taken the customer experience to a different level. Some more questions, folks, before we sign off. Let's get into some more details. The one thing that I want to point out before we go any further is that the multi-information display in the middle of the two gauges, it works really well, because when you're on the move, it shows you if the battery is charging, it shows you if you're using power from the battery, it shows you when you're decelerating, when you're charging it back up, and you can also switch displays to show you a bunch of information, such as how much power you're using, how much torque you're using. This one now also has a G meter, so if you're feeling adventurous and you want to be a little aggressive when you're behind the wheel, preferably in the closed confines of a racetrack and not out on the public road, then it allows you to do that as well. Let's get back into the second row and talk a little bit more about the captain seats. So one tip that I would like to point out is, whenever you're sitting back here, put your seatbelt on, even if you're in the second row, even if it's not mandated, because from a safety standpoint, it allows all the systems in this car, all the safety systems in this car, to work only if you're belted in properly. But really what impresses me about this car is the fact that it really gives you a feeling of space. I can sit back here and I've got the armrest down, you can fold it up if you want, and it really gives you a feeling of space and comfort. Every seat has its own cup holder. I've got the AC controls right here. One of the differentiating factors of this car, as I said, is the quality of the cabin. And one of those things is that it's got this really nice premium texture and fabric in the headliner. So that's really, really nice quality as well. And as I said before, I really like the all black interior, and I really like the leather. From a personal standpoint, I think it's much easier to maintain and much easier to keep clean than some of the lighter shades. Mayank Mani on Facebook wants to know if it's BS4 or BS6. So as I said before, this is the 7th model from the Maruti Suzuki stable and the 2nd model from the Nexa stable that is already BS6 compliant. BS6 compliant means that it'll run on BS4 fuel as well as on BS6 fuel. So fuel is not an issue, but the great thing is that when it is BS6 compliant, the emission levels are really far reduced over BS4 fuel. So to that extent, you'll be doing the environment a favor, and the smart hybrid system helps in that sense as well. Not only does it make the car more efficient, and cleaner, but it also gives you that little bit of an added boost in terms of power delivery as well. Misfit Comics on Instagram wants to know about the safety features. So the seatbelts have pre-tensioners. You've got, in this automatic variant, you've got ESP and hill hold assist. You've got ABS, of course. You've got twin airbags, and we talked about the structure and the basic safety features in the structure as well. Anish on Facebook wants to know the drive seating position and adjustment. So let's get back in the front seat and play around a little bit more. So the first thing you want to do when you're sitting in the driving seat, of course, as I said earlier, is put on your seat belt, and the ideal driving position is to have your hands at 3 and 9 with a slight bend in your arms, so you're not sitting too far back. Have the seat nicely upright. The steering wheel adjusts for height, so it adjusts up and down. The driving seat, I can also adjust for height like that. I can adjust the backrest this way, and of course you can go fore and aft. So there's really no excuse for not having a perfect driving position and being in full control of this car when you're behind the driving seat. And actually my favorite part about the driving seat and the driving position is the steering wheel. I love this sporty sort of flat bottom 3-spoke steering wheel. It works really well, and the great thing about all this adjustment is that you can find the perfect driving position that's right for you, and make sure that you're always in full control of this car. The perfect driving position from a theoretical standpoint again is hands at 3 and 9. Your arms should be slightly bent. You shouldn't be too far back or too and it keeps whatever you've got in here cool as well. So that's a really nice touch and a cool feature. Of course you've got keyless entry. So I've got a smart key and start stop button over there. Idiosyncratic Tanya on Instagram wants to know what's inspiring about the XL6. So I mean, we talked a little bit about the overall sort of positioning of this car, being a premium MPV with bold, aggressive styling cues and positioning. And there are a couple of things that stand out. One, of course, is the all black interior, which is premium and it feels really nice. And the other one is the fact that it's got this sort of very bold SUV like styling features. So practical and aggressive on both fronts. Any more questions, folks, before we wrap up? Walk around and an overview of the XL6. What I can suggest is go and check it out for yourselves, take it for a test drive, and I'm looking forward to, now that I'm done talking to you folks and showing you around the car, I'm looking forward to hitting the road. So thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this live event. This is me signing off from the Maruti Suzuki Brand Center.
Subscribe us and press the bell icon for more interesting updates.